What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video we are doing the 87th installment of Retro Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing my Aeroclassics 1:400 scale American Airlines Airbus A300. This is another one of these super duper rare aircraft types within the 1:400 scale hobby, and it just every time that one surfaces, it is another one of those things that goes for several $100 minimum. And when Aeroclassics released this again earlier this year, this thing flew off the shelves, and I was very much tempted to buy it, and I decided to go through with it knowing that I was going to regret not getting it, kind of like with the Delta DC-10, which I also took a look at in an earlier episode of the series. So this is the April 2025 release, and I got it a couple weeks after it was actually released. I actually remember the day that it got shipped. I just got out of doing something with college, and I got the notification that it's on the way. So yeah, that was nice to walk out of and just, treat myself for completing something that I thought was going to be a bit more difficult, but thankfully it was not. So go ahead and move the model out of the way. We bring in the standard Aeroclassics box. I'll admit I had a bit of a tough time finding this box, partially because of the blankness of it, and also because I have too many boxes, and I am also out of space. I still have several models, at least the boxes anyway, that are still sitting on the floor. They're not on a shelf because I don't have space. So same dilemmas I'm having with the actual models themselves. I don't have space for them anymore. So I think it's about time that I start changing some things up. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. This is the standard blank Aeroclassics box that they like to do. You got their logo up there, a small cutout for the model with a blue outline to match the color of the text. On this side, though, you do have a sticker that indicates what model it is. So you've got the barcode and the item number, which is BBX41669. So this is one of their blue box releases, which is not entirely accurate because this is a white box, not a blue box. But anyway, you do have details of the livery with the registration and the tail. On the top side, there's the adult collectible model warning, and then on that side is just a blank side, and then Aeroclassics Online, and there you go. That's all the box there. And then on this side, very much blank. Absolutely no details to speak of whatsoever. So now I'll bring in the American A300 by Aeroclassics, and there's not a whole lot of history with this aircraft. It just flew for American. But I will talk about kind of the history of this type in scale form, not just 1:400, but also some of the other scales that it has also been present in. So that will be also something we will assess to go about. But there it is. Awesome model and a very unique aircraft type for American. They didn't have these for super duper long, about a little under 20 years. And they did a lot of predominantly stuff out of Miami to the Caribbean, like Latin America and down there, and they also flew up to New York. So they did have some prominence within the route network, but outside of that, I don't think they really did too much else. So to start off, we have the nose cone. There's the cockpit windows. A300 luxury liner titles printed underneath the cheat line. And then there's the L1 door, nose gear, and the nose gear door itself. Wheels do roll, but again, with Aeroclassics, they tend to be very cheaply put together, and the wheels can easily fall off. There's the American Airlines titles, as always, with that nice white outline to separate it from the polish. There's very lovely engines on this bird. These, I believe, are CF6s. There's several different types that exist of that engine variant. And as for this specific bird, that would indeed be correct. CF6-80C2A5. That is the specific engine that existed on this aircraft. There's the overwings with not much to report on, no overwing exits there, so therefore absent of markings. There's an L3 door right there, and then L4 back there. And you also note that the cheat line, along with the actual passenger window line, it kicks up just a little bit. That was actually part of the A300. It's only really, I've only noticed it with at least the American livery. It's not something I've really paid attention to on other liveries. So when somebody pointed this out, it was actually pretty cool. There's a registration down there, November 7083 Alpha, and then the American Airlines tail, which is gray. And you see the rear of the fuselage is painted gray. When American initially got the A300, they were all painted gray because Airbus They mainly built it out of like composite stuff, and American obviously wanted the chrome look so that it looked consistent with the rest of their fleet, so Airbus then was able to build it in a way that American could do this polished look on it. So that is kind of how it goes with that. And glad that they made that decision because it looks really nice with the chrome, though I will have to get probably the gray painted version of this at some point, if I can find it, or maybe Aeroclassics will re-release that as well. Here's the right side with a couple luggage doors over here. I don't know what is up with that wheel there. You see the hub kind of, they overpainted it a bit. And then there's the tail on that side. Also note the American flag at the top. It's also hard to keep this model off of fingerprints. I should invest in getting like $2 rubber gloves, because I know a couple people that they will handle models with gloves, or they will use like the okay, it actually just started raining. That's actually kind of hilarious. I just heard a rain because there's actually a little window just behind this. It's actually just a blanket I have draped over, and it is just starting to rain. We have a little bit of a thunderstorm moving through, so that's just how it goes. But anyway, continuing on with the review, there's the underneath the aircraft. You have the little air inlets, I believe those are, just molded on there. Stand hole, and then the top, again, sorry, I'm going to get fingerprints all over the polish. But there's the top of the aircraft with a couple printed details and no beacons. So like I said, the American A300, it is a very, very unique aircraft type within the American Airlines fleet. And they, alongside Eastern, I think, yeah, Eastern was the only other airline in the U.S. to operate the A300. Obviously, FedEx and UPS have a large fleet of them now. Obviously, they're all freighters, so... But really, in the U.S., nobody really had any confidence that Airbus was going to last, which is why you didn't see too many American airlines, not the American Airlines, but any airlines within the United States. They didn't really want to fly Airbuses. But then Eastern got a really good deal. They took several A300s basically for free, and they loved it, and eventually the public loved it. And Airbus became the success that it is today. So now we'll take a look at the real-life aircraft's brief history. It first flew on June 17th of 1992, then was delivered to American a few months later. Very uneventful career for her. She was with them for 17 years until American retired the type in 2009. She was scrapped a few years later, not seeing a career as a freighter. And I think at least several of these American A300s, they had to have gone on to become freighter aircraft, and I can try and verify that real quick. Actually, no, that would probably take me too much time, but anyway. Now we'll take a look at this aircraft's existence within at least the 1 to 400 world, and also other scales too. Some dates are not present on the model aircraft database, but at least the first existence of it happened in 1994, with Schabach making one in 1 to 600 scale. Herpa made one in 2002 in 500 scale, and then Dragon Wings first released it in 03 with the polished livery. So the chrome livery registered November 59081. And then her next 1 to 400 release was in 2007. This is the gray painted version I was talking about that Aeroclassics released. And they also did do a chrome variant, November 80084. Then it would be quite a while until it would appear again in 400 scale. 2015, Aeroclassics did a second release, November 7082 Alpha, which is the sister ship to this airframe. In between, 1 to 200 scale got a couple releases, like JC Wings did one. In-Flight 200 also did one. Actually, JC Wings did a couple of them. They did one in 2011 with the gray livery, and then the chrome livery in 2017. JC Wings came back in 2023 with another 1 to 200 release with the white or gray top, and then the polished one, the chrome, in October of 2024. Now, U-Model has also announced this, but this was back in March, and I've not seen anything surface of that. So I don't know what's going on with U-Model, or technically, I think they're now Z squared. I don't know. There's so many like these Chinese brands that exist. It's kind of crazy to think about. But that still hasn't arrived at retailers. And then the latest being this one from April of 2025. And then, as always, I like to turn to eBay just to see the general rarity of some of these models. And I did this with the Ozark DC-9 a few weeks ago. Actually, more than a few weeks ago now. And yeah, several results pop up on eBay, mainly with the new release, but they're already selling for like $100. And then the older releases, 180, 220, 130, 150, up to $250. They are very valuable. So these things are definitely, if you are trying to get rid of an old release, I'm sure somebody would be willing to pay like $100 for it. I personally wouldn't. I at least paid retail price for this, but I know somebody will. And it's kind of an old saying that I've heard that if you put a price on a model, odds are somebody will be willing to pay that much for it. It may take you a while to find a buyer, but eventually they do end up coming around. So that'll do it for this episode of Retro Reviews. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.